5 years after the landmark summit between Trump and Putin, Biden honors alliance unity in Helsinki. U.S. President Joe Biden and Scandinavian leaders met on Thursday to conclude the important European tour of the conference, which has an important symbol at home and abroad and demonstrates the president's commitment to America's presence in the world's vision of character. The leaders of Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland expressed their cooperation with the United States at the same place 5 years ago this week during 2 meetings between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Conference. At that meeting, the U.S. President discussed with his Russian counterpart how the Kremlin intervened in the 2016 election, launching a surprise attack on U.S. intelligence, causing concern in Washington and international organizations. 5 years later, Biden paints a very different style. Surrounded by friends old and new, Putin was considering Finland's accession to NATO when he was at war in Ukraine, and in a decision he thought Sweden would join the NATO alliance, he said. Just remind us that the countries attending the conference don't have a common denominator. History, but we also have a common history. History. Our shared vision for the world is a world of freedom, security, and opportunity for all, he told leaders at a meeting of the Finnish Presidential House. We stand with the good Ukrainian people in defending themselves against the evil attacks of Russia. Thursday's meeting marked the third and first meeting for the Biden administration. Turkey withdrew Sweden's bid for NATO membership earlier this week, and Biden scored a major victory in Vilnius, Lithuania, but also provided a meeting for leaders to discuss many other issues. Leaders celebrate the victory of the conference by demonstrating the power behind Finland's NATO membership and Sweden's entry into the alliance, providing the strength and power of the Union as Ukraine's struggle continues. The historic announcement, made on the eve of the NATO summit, represents a dramatic change for Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He blocked Sweden from joining NATO for more than a year due to various concerns. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't think NATO is stronger. During a meeting with President Sauli Niinistö, Biden said, I think it's a different time. The nature of our relationship with the participation of Sweden makes a big difference. Biden led the media the day before the Vilnius meeting and forced Turkey to force Sweden to participate. It took about 3 seconds for me to say yes, he said, while speaking to Niinistö, who said it was the fastest deal in modern history by a new NATO member. In April, Finland became the organization's 31st member. During his meeting with Niinistö, Biden said that Finland is a good partner and a great asset for NATO. We are deepening our defense partnership, said Biden. We stand by our democratic values together. Regarding Putin, Biden said, I told our friends in the East that he wanted NATO to exist. It has been Finlandized, it will NATOize Finland. Other topics to be discussed are Arctic security. China and Russia are present in the Arctic, which has become more accessible due to climate change. Amid more than 500 days of war in Ukraine, Russia continues to expand its military bases in the Arctic, and satellite imagery obtained by CNN last month has made further progress in strengthening and expanding its radar base and operations in the region. China continues to expand its presence in the region. The USA, which is also an Arctic country, is taking its own steps to strengthen cooperation in the region. The two sides are also expected to discuss areas of technological cooperation, including 5G and artificial intelligence technology. Climate commitment and clean energy are also the main themes in the Helsinki journey. Later on Thursday, Biden and Niinistö held a joint press conference, asking journalists for the first time in an official venue during the U.S. president's visit of the week. U.S. President Joe Biden visited NATO's newest member after defeating Russian President Vladimir Putin the day before, meeting with northern leaders at the Finnish presidential residence on Thursday. Following NATO talks in Vilnius, Lithuania this week, Biden traveled directly to Finland, on the Russian border, for a U.S.-Scandinavian meeting with the leaders of Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, and Norway. Will also hold a press conference with Finnish President Sauli Niinistö before returning to Washington. Finland's decision to join NATO ended 7 years of military conflict and roughly doubled the length of NATO's border with Russia. Country, too. It resisted Soviet occupation during World War II but lost territory. Before Putin invaded Ukraine, he had good relations with Russia. Biden hails Finland as an incredible asset for NATO's joint forces ahead of bilateral talks with Niinistö. "I think NATO has never been stronger," he told reporters in the palace. "Together we stand for common democratic values." Niinistö said that at the Vilnius meeting, which focused on the dialogue behind Ukraine, NATO member Finland declared a new era for our security and praised Biden for forming unity. Sweden applied to join NATO with Finland, but its application was closed by Turkey, which said Sweden had done little for the people. Ankara admits terrorists. At this week's NATO meeting, Biden described Finland and Sweden's move to join NATO as Putin's war of territory and energy. Evidence of greed backfired and only encouraged military cooperation. He also managed to impress Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who wanted to join the coalition easily. "We achieved all the goals we set," Biden told reporters at Vilnius airport before flying to Helsinki. The visit comes almost 5 years after President Donald Trump criticized the speech during his talks with Putin in Helsinki. Biden is also expected to discuss issues such as climate change and new technologies. To make 444. U.S. President Joe Biden invited Finland to join NATO on Thursday, recalling the shared benefits of the military alliance during his visit to the newest alliance in Russia. Biden traveled to Helsinki to meet with the leaders of Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, and Norway. He has just returned from a NATO meeting in Vilnius, Lithuania this week, where he said that Russia's attack on Ukraine will only make NATO stronger. Finland's decision to join NATO ended 7 years of military conflict and roughly doubled the length of NATO's border with Russia. Country, too. It resisted Soviet occupation during World War II but lost territory. Before Putin invaded Ukraine, he had good relations with Russia. Biden hailed Finland as an incredible asset to NATO's military alliance ahead of his bilateral meeting with Finnish President Sauli Niinistö. "I think NATO has never been this strong before," Sareda told reporters. "Our vision of the world. A freer, safer country," he said, adding that the time should be open to everyone. The summit focused on the post-Ukraine campaign. In a statement after the meeting, Biden and the northern leaders said they would continue to support Ukraine for as long as possible. All changes. Biden also welcomed Sweden's entry into NATO. Sweden applied to join NATO with Finland, but its application was closed by Turkey, which said Sweden had done little for people Ankara deems terrorists. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan voiced his opposition to his application this week. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson thanked Biden for his support of Sweden's NATO member and said that there is good potential for good relations with America. Strengthening North-South cooperation and relations in resolving problems, including problems with China. Earlier, a White House official said, as a result of Russia's actions, we have seen a major change in the European security architecture, with Scandinavian countries openly approaching the West in response to Russia's violence and instability. Visited about 5 years after his visit to the United States. President Donald Trump made conciliatory words to Putin during his talks in Helsinki. Biden said he looks forward to discussing climate change, intelligence, and support for Ukraine with the Finnish leader.